Good evening, everybody. Welcome to America with me, Hasna. To be a safe space for women, ensuring that women have equal access to digital technologies is essential to our economic and social empowerment and inclusive economic recovery. As we accelerate our efforts on the digital inclusion of women, let's join us on today's event, Women in Digital Economy, Emerging Careers and Opportunities in the Digital Space. But before we begin, how about we spice things up with a little trivia? So the trivia for today is, did you know that in Indonesia, there are about 36 startups founded by women in the past 5 years? Wow, that was the trivia of the day. We will also love to hear some other fun facts or trivias from you as well regarding to our topics today, women in digital economy. Feel free to share with us to our social media platform. And now, without further ado, allow me to invite our moderator for today's session from U.S. Embassy Jakarta as the Economic Officer, Pak Lester Asamoah. This stage is yours.
Oh. Good evening and welcome to Ad America. We are so excited that you're here joining us in person and online. My name is Lester Azamoah, and I'm one of the economic officers at U.S. Embassy Jakarta. And of course, I'll be your moderator for tonight. It is no secret that Indonesia is at the forefront of the digital economy in Southeast Asia. According to a 2021 Google Temasek report, Indonesia's digital industry is projected to be worth $146 billion by 2025. Yes, B with a billion, which will make Indonesia, of course, the largest economy in largest digital economy in Southeast Asia. Another key fact is that over 200 million Indonesians are active internet users, and 170 million people here in Indonesia are active on social media, spending an average of 9 hours a day on social media. Clearly, what Indonesians do on social media and in the digital space has a large impact. The United States is committed to supporting Indonesia's continued growth in the digital economy and beyond. President Biden's recent announcement of the Indo Pacific Economic Framework, of which Indonesia is an initial partner, will address the ways the United States and Indonesia can best collaborate on the digital economy. But as we think about the potential of the digital economy for all of us, one thing that we at the embassy and across State Department are passionate about is that the digital economic transformation should benefit everyone equally. For example, an EY survey noted that in the financial technology or fintech industry here in Indonesia, women comprise less than 10% of the board of directors in Indonesian fintech startups. A similar trend exists in executive positions and executive and corporate positions across Indonesia's digital industries. And that's why I want to have this discussion tonight about women in the digital economy specifically, because no woman should be left behind in the digital economic transformation. I'm so excited that we have a great panel assembled here tonight to share their thoughts about emerging careers and opportunities in the digital space. So without further ado, I'll announce our first panelist, our friends from Apple Academy here, uh, our friends Alicia, or Fiona and Yanni. And so I'll go through both of their so I'll go through both of their bios before Fiona gives her presentation. So Fiona is a proud graduate of the Apple Developer Academy. As part of the experience, she became the co-founder of Aura Seizure Helper, an application to help people with epilepsy get proper first aid when they have seizures. Very important. This app has taken her places, including being selected for the Apple Entrepreneur Camp. Aura was awarded as a top 5 of Indonesia ICT entrepreneurs in 2021 in the CSR category by the Ministry of Communication and Information Technology. Currently, Fiona is busy cultivating other world-class developers as a tech mentor at Apple Academy. And Fiona's fun fact is that for her, learning never ends. Fiona is taking Harvard University's online course on innovating healthcare. However, she's already done so I think Harvard could learn a little bit from her, right? And our friend Yenny, is the operation manager at Apple Developer Academy at Venus, the first of 4 very successful Apple Developer Academies in Asia. Her team's work has helped influence best practices across the Apple Developer Academies in the Americas, Europe, the Middle East, and Asia. Having been the principal of two different education institutions in Jakarta, she's also a seasoned educator with great passion to bring out the very best in our youth. And so I'll cede the floor over to Fiona to share a little bit about Apple Academy and her experience.
Oh, it's still muted. That's okay. All right. Thank you so much, Lester. That's actually a very humble introduction. All right. So I can start with my presentation. Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Fiona. Thank you. I'm from Apple Developer Academy. And today, I'll be sharing my stories on my journey on how to become a developer with impact. All right. So I will share you a little bit piece of me tonight. Ooh, the clicker's not working. It's okay. Okay, so this is me when I was a baby. Ever since I was little, I've always wanted to create impact to the world. My mom told me so many stories about Helen Keller, Isadora Duncan, and everyone. And knowing that their name known throughout the globe, I was intrigued. Okay, I gotta be this person. I have to be known by everyone because I wanted to create impact to the world. And I remember exactly 5 years ago, I was sitting on the audience seat in front of me right here. So it's kind of it's actually a surprise for me to stand here at America right now because it's actually a great opportunity for me. So thank you so everyone for inviting me. And I remember back then when I was sitting at the audience seat, I listened to a story from someone named Melati. So she had this campaign called Bye Bye Plastic Bags. And back then, when I saw her and how passionate she was sharing her stories, I was amazed. I was so inspired to actually take my steps. And back then, the closest thing to me was computer because I came across Mahatma Gandhi quotes, which is, if you wanted to change the world, start from yourself. And I figured that, okay, both of my parents are working in computer and that's the closest thing to me. And I feel like, okay, all right, I'll learn how to code and create websites, and maybe I will make it usable for lots of people around the globe. But when I learned, actually, I tried to pursue my degree in Bina Nusantara University, where I pursue computer science, and I learned how to code and etc. etc. But one day, I feel like, I can code, but I want it to be more impactful to other people. I want more people to actually use my code. I can do more, right? But at the time, I don't really understand what's happening around me. One day, when I'm about to walk into my class, I came across this banner. So it was advertisement about Apple Developer Academy. And the banner was saying like, okay, be a world-class developer, solving real world's problem. And I was intrigued. Hmm, solving real world's problem. That's actually what I'm missing from my points. So I decided to apply, and up until now, I still am in Apple Developer Academy and becoming a mentor. And I met so many people with so many stories. From someone who loved cats so much and they wanted to create application for their cats, and from someone who loved finance so much and creating financial planner applications. And one day, I met one of my inspiring friend, and his name is John. So John is actually my coworker right now in Apple Developer Academy, and his story actually very inspiring. So ever since he entered Apple Developer Academy, he always wanted to create an application for his brother. So his brother, his name is Tio. His name is Dio. So Dio have epilepsy, and sadly, in 2020, his brother passed away because when he was outside of his home, he was having a seizure, but no one was there to help him. So John and I, we form a team. We form a team to help people with to create an app that will help people with epilepsy. Because we realized that this is only one case of so many cases out there, right? So we created applications where people with epilepsy could actually alert their surroundings, and our applications will provide step by step of how to help people with epilepsy, so their surroundings know of what to do, so that case won't ever happen again. So this is our applications, and this is the step by step of what bystanders have to do when seizure is happening. And we also realized that As a caregiver, if you have a family with epilepsy, you would be super worried, right? Because when you are family outside and you don't know whether your family is fine or not, whether they're having a seizure or not, it will be like hassle. So we created this application. So when you are having a seizure outside of your home, and your caregiver will be notified of your status and also your whereabouts, and they can also get directions of wherever you are at the time. So if an emergency is happening, they know where you are, so they will be less worried. And beside this, we also realized that people with epilepsy do doctor's appointment like almost every month. And when record in terms of recording seizure, it's actually pretty difficult for them because when they're having seizures, they're really worried of what's happening at the time. So to make that easier, our applications also recorded their seizures. So when they're having a monthly appointment, they can send the report right away. And maybe when you're seeing this right now, it's a great applications because it has a view. But we're not working alone. We're also working with epilepsy community Indonesia. So when we are in Apple Developer Academy, I realized that working with people, listening to people's stories are actually really important. Okay, maybe as of now we are listening, but sometimes we are not listening enough to know what are happening towards around things around us. And we are very grateful to be able to be part of Apple Developer Academy when they taught us to talk to people, to listen to people, and not jump to conclusions or making assumptions about what are the things that is happening around us. And this is also another thing that our team created. We realized that beside helping through applications, we're also creating our social media to educate people around the globe what is epilepsy. And so it will reduce the stigmas that is happening around us. Another thing is that by joining Apple Developer Academy, I think that we are very privileged because Apple Developer Academy helps us with lots of great mentors from business, from coding, from design, and we also receive an award from Apple Entrepreneur Camp, as mentioned by Lester earlier. And but things doesn't really come easy every time. We've been through for so many breakdowns. In fact, like we do so many iterations where we are testing our applications to community, we are talking with our business mentors, etc., etc. And even so many times we talk to people and they told us that, oh, this will be hard for you to create a revenue. It will be hard for you to create money from this kind of business. Maybe when people say it once, it's okay. Say it twice, that's okay. But when you say it over and over again, it somehow feels like a curse. So it's kind of discouraging for people who have social entrepreneurship. Even actually, it's okay. It should be our trampoline. The more people push us down, the higher we'll go up. We will go up. Because this is the reason for us to work even harder and harder. So we can prove people that social entrepreneurship could actually work and could actually create impact. And we also realized that after getting some judgment and maybe some feedbacks that doesn't actually help us, there are actually people who send us messages. And we are very lucky that as of now in iOS alone, we already have 700 plus downloaders. We actually have users that actually uses our applications. And we are very grateful for that because there are lots of people from the community that makes us believe that we can achieve more. And by seeing this, it actually made me realize those hard works actually paid off really well. And some things are just worth fighting for. And next thing that I want to tell you is that an application called Petanetra. So two of the founders are actually here with me in Ad America. So Petanetra is also an application that is created based on personal story. So it's about the story of Grace. So Grace is one of the co-founders. So her parents are visually impaired. And she realized that it will be hard for her parents to see around them, right? And they wanted to go freely and navigate around places. So Petanetra create these applications. So someone who is visually impaired can actually use these applications because it is navigated by voice, so they don't have to look at the applications. And then they can choose the map, and then the map will choose the you can choose the destinations from the map. Like for example, you want to walk to a locket at a train station, and then you can do that, and And after that, the applications will talk through the person about the locations and what should the person do in order to reach out to the locket, for example. And these are the founders of Petanetra. So these are the amazing founders. So actually, people who are created Aura Seizure Helper and people who are creating Petanetra, we actually don't have much experience in application development. And maybe Petanetra, they are using an AR technology, and maybe they don't have experience in using AR at the first place. But one thing that we know for sure is that the two of our team actually have a very clear goal that we wanted to help, we wanted to create impact. And as a developer, that is the most important thing. We have to be clear with what our goals was, and we have to be clear that we want to create impact. Once we have that goal set, and anything will be possible. It's just like this term. If you throw your heart over the fence, and the rest of your body will follow. So after realizing that, I met so many people, I found so many different stories, I came to conclusions that every story matters. Back then, I couldn't find my own stories because I feel like, maybe my stories doesn't is not important enough. Or maybe what I'm trying to tackle is not as important as the other thing. Well, maybe that's true, but that could be wrong also. When we are having a trouble, maybe instead of comparing our problems to others, we have to take a little bit more. Maybe the problem that we are having is as important as the other problem because other people are having the same problem as well. So actually, before I had this talk, people telling me, right, this talk has to be inspirational. I had a quick breakdown, actually. I cried because I feel like, I'm not inspiring enough to have my own talk like this. I keep saying that my problems are nothing, right? So I'm not as inspiring as others. And maybe I'm not the only one who keeps saying that. Maybe everyone also have the same thought. Like maybe they feel like they're not matter enough to have their own stage to talk. So let me tell you something. My mentor told me that when we are talking like this, we are giving ourselves to the world. We are giving gifts of ourselves to the world. And we are ourselves as a human. We are a gift. We can create changes and creating impact regardless of the problem that is happening. So maybe we often tell ourselves like, oh, it's nothing, or someone had it worse, or it's just another day in life. Just let it be. And as I said before, maybe we are neglecting too much of our problems, and we don't know how important it is. Maybe from the problems that we are having, we can figure out some opportunities that we can explore, and maybe it could help someone else's life too. So, to become an impactful developer, I can conclude that I learned that if you want to become a developer, you have to be some judgments, some feedbacks, some critics, and etc. etc. But it's okay. It's part of the learning. It's called embracing failures. Because without no failures, we wouldn't be able to get into wherever we are right now or to improving things. When we are getting critics, it means that there are rooms for improvement, and we shouldn't be scared of that. And you know what? Embracing failures is part of learning, and getting over the shame is part of the learning. And also, another important thing is to open to learn. Sometimes when we are listening to people, we have to empty out ourselves. That's what I learned. Because if we don't empty out ourselves and forcing things, we won't be able to listen to what other people say or other thing that we have to learn. Okay, everyone, ladies and gentlemen, I think that's my gift for all of you for tonight. I think I have shared a piece of me, a piece of my journey to all of you. And I cannot wait to see all of your gifts to the world. Thank you. Back to you, Lester.
Wow. Thank you so much, Fiona. I mean, you were definitely inspirational, so I'm so glad that you shared this gift with us tonight. And I just wanted to touch on a few of the things that you mentioned. Um, Inclusion and accessibility, right? When we talk about the digital economy, right, like communities such as people that have epilepsy and marginalized communities, like we don't want to leave anybody behind. So I like that you are thinking about that and the necessity of while we have the technology, we always have to connect it back to being human, being who we are, and keep that in mind as we're designing. So I really like that, and your words on just pushing forward, right? I know for women in this industry, as we've mentioned, and folks that are just don't feel comfortable with technology or starting anew, it's so important to push forward. And your story is a wonderful example of that. So thank you for sharing and just being bold, right? Throwing your heart over the fence. I think that that's how we're going to get a lot of movement with people that want to be in the industry. They have to be passionate about it, and I think that's an important part of it. And the technical skills will come, and all the things you need to develop or design something will come into motion. But if you're not passionate about it, then that's so critical. So once again, thank you, Fiona. And for the audience too, Fiona and Yanni will have a question and answer period after we get through the rest of our panelists. So I hope you all are thinking of all the great questions you'd like to ask them about the Apple Academy and their experience. So wow, that was wonderful start. Um, well, next we have our friend Shofi Awanis up, and so I give a short bio for her and give her the floor. So Shofi Awanis is a corporate communication manager at Go2 Financial, a part of the Go2 group. I'm sure we're all familiar with, and she's been in the role since July 2020. Previously, she served as a public affairs senior associate at Gojek from 2018 to 2020, another company I'm sure we all know about. She obtained her master's degree in strategic communication at Columbia University through the LPDP scholarship, and her undergraduate degree was from Universitas Gajah Mada. She was Indonesian delegate for the Young Southeast Asian Leaders Initiative, or YSEALI, and she participated in the workshop on the power of human capital in December 2014. And she's an Indonesian delegate of study in the United States Institute for Student Leaders back in 2012, where she did a program on new media and journalism. And her fun fact is that she was involved in the initial phases of Gojek's carbon offset initiative as a part of the Go Greener program to facilitate consumers offsetting their carbon footprint. She wrote the copy of the Go Greener carbon offset product flow in the Gojek app. So that is quite a big impact on helping us use technology to make a more renewable world. So, Shofi, hand over the floor to you to discuss.
Thank you, Lester. Thank you for the humble introductions. Hi, everyone. I'm joining from home. I'm so glad that I can join tonight, even though not in person at America. So yeah, as Lester mentioned, right now I'm currently working at the Go2 Financials as a part of the larger Go2 group, and then before starting my career in communications, I also joined several of United States exchange program like SUSI and the Wisely. I hope you can hear me clearly right now. So I have the presentations in the screen. Yeah, thank you so much, the team. Yeah. So just want to follow up on what Fiona has shared before on how technology helps us in a daily life to progress toward the better life. Now, talking about progressing and right now on the topic of women in the digital economy and my capacity as a communication professionals, I would like to share a little bit on how I perceive how technology can help us in the futures. Next, please. Yeah, so journey as a communication professional, where did it begin? Aside of the formal education, like Lester has already mentioned before, I take my formal education on communication at Universitas Gajah Mada and also at Columbia University for the master degree. But I do think that it's not only the formal educations that shapes the whole pictures of how a person wants to develop personally and professionally. It is also the experience beyond the formal education. And for me, it is the impact that I felt the most is through the program that I joined in 2012 and 2014, which was the Study in United States Institute for New Media and Journalism, where um, I got to experience the theory and also the practice on how the world of journalism is shaped, and also even visiting the expert and the industry itself at the United States, from Indiana to New York and the Washington D.C. I think it was one of the best moment in my life to experience that, and I'm very humbled to be able to take the takeaways from the program itself to to get the bigger pictures uh, of how we reshape the economic and empowerment for the women itself. And as for the regional exchange, the Wisely generation, I also joined the U.S. exchange program. Um, it it is the first hook for the topic of human capital, and I remember that this is the turning point that I start to want to answer the questions of if the world is constantly changing, what needed for us to survive in the workforce? That question keeps going in my mind for 2 years and years, and I would really, even until now, I would always repeat the question in my mind to be able to understand that there is no such thing as a fixed skills that only needed in one particular time, but we need we need to upskill over and again, and through technology, uh, the upskilling would be even easier. Next, please. So yeah, just want to connect the dots between the experience and then the practical level here. Go back to Indonesian context. After learning about on the global context and seeing the best practices on the global level, now I would like to shape a bit into the Indonesian market opportunity. I think Lester has already mentioned as well in the background that we have a lot of a population, 270 plus millions of population in Indonesia, which average spend online almost 9 hours per day. But however, it when you talk about Indonesia, it's not only Jakarta, it's not only big city like Surabaya. It is also a lot of underserved and also unreachable cities and also region that are causing around 50% of Indonesian populations were underbanked and underserved as well. While at the same time, with the technology, the e-wallet penetrations is growing as well. So we see that there are an opportunity here to use a huge opportunity to tap online business to reach the underserved and further achieve economic growth. However, the interesting part is next, please. Even though the technology penetrations is huge, there are still challenges remaining for the inclusive job creations. So this from the World Bank, the data from the World Bank shows that that almost half of Indonesian workers are stuck below middle class status with few opportunities for upward mobility, meaning that they are stuck only working on that. It is harder for them to climb the ladder for economic class status itself. And to add to that point, half of adult women are not working. So this is when we see this data. I think why I'm saying this is interesting, because if we combine the previous opportunities from the previous slide with this insight, there's a gap, right? And this gap can be filled with the utilizations of technology to encourage women participations in the digital economy. Because technology can create more opportunities for job creations, how it is essentially by opening access to wider pool of market. For example, if you're a business owners, opening access for consumers. If you are a company, opening a wider pool market of talents and partners and vendors and etc. Next, next, please. So yeah, here women is the important subject. Why? Because I want to quote the one of the uh, American authors, Debasis Mrida. By empowering women, we empower the nations. And this quote is, I really believe in this quote because it is essentially, if we are empowering women, we are empowering a family and a small community, which also goes to as a break to break as an empowering a nations. Next, please. Yeah. Now I want to share a little bit about the brief of good where I work, and then on the fintech industry itself. How does that tap into the opportunities and answering the challenge for the women empowerment? So empowering a nation by enhancing access to financial tools is also necessary, and also the important and very essential step for women economic empowerment. Next, please. Yeah, I would like to introduce the Go to Financial. Everyone might already want to know about Go to Group. If you are having, if you are in the daily life using Gojek and Tokopedia as an on-demand platform and also as an e-commerce, you might also already familiar with GoPay. So GoPay is one of the product on Go to Financial for the consumer side, but we have more than that, more of the comprehensive array of solutions for the Go to Financials itself, from the start from payments and also the financial services that essentially not only to serve the consumers but also for the business to business, for the merchant solutions like Go Store, GoBiz, Mocha, Sally, and etc. I wouldn't bore with the details on here. Just want to give the broader pictures of how a financial technology can tap in a lot of human a lot of our lives and make impact. Next, please. Yeah, this is the one of the several interesting findings from LDUI, Lembaga Demografik Universitas of Indonesia, which research finds that the Go to Financial accelerate financial inclusion not only for consumers but also for the micro, small, and medium enterprises merchants. What is interesting here that I want to highlight is apparently one of GoPay would be the GoPay is opening access to the cashless payments by being the first exposure to digital financial products. So when people already use the financial product, they never which never been exposed to before. So one out of the four people is now also using the other banking product and services after using the cashless payments like GoPay. And on the merchant side as well, there are a lot of people who are impacted by the pandemic, and then they are have to shift their way of doing businesses to online. And we found that a significant portion of the merchants started a business for the first time during the pandemic, and first time selling online through our products, which essentially showing us the bigger insight that there are a lot of people who are needs to change their businesses from traditional businesses, mom and pop store businesses, to be available online. And it's not easy for people who essentially doesn't have full exposure to technology at first, but then the pandemic accelerates it, and then now the opportunity for the micro business and small owners business to grow on online and even more bigger than before. Next, please. So this is the story about women that are using the product. Just want to highlight several that in the left side is Ibu Lona. She is um, she is selling hijab fashions through the offline store at first, but then since the pandemic hits, she needs to move online as well. And during the pandemic, the consumers are um, flooding her DM and also the WhatsApp and everything, and she's like overwhelmed by the pool of um, the needs of the expanding business to online, while doesn't have a necessity resources to help her uh, expanding the business by using one of the applications called Sally as a part of our products. She is able to doing the consumers to reply the chat and also the having the transactions at one app itself and also ordering the logistic at one app, and then she doesn't need to leave houses or even asking for more help to do the businesses, and it's still growing. And here Nenek Tuti, she is selling selling foods on Pasaraya Blok M, and then she is now able to accept cashless payment for her business through Kris and GoPay, and it also reduces the cash payments, and she's really she loves the experience of being able to accept payment through her phones, while Amanda here is empowering more than 30 housewives through her fashion line through payment gateway Mitrans, uh, because she is able now to start her fashion line, not only selling in Indonesia but also selling globally, because now consumer from outside of Indonesia also can um, pay through the payment gateway Mitrans, which enable her to seek for more tailor that enable her also to empower more women. So here is the story, the three story about how a story about how uh, my connection is about okay. Yeah. So here's this story is about how three women using the technology and also giving them an access to grow and thrive in digital economy. And this is the impact that we would like to see in um, as a company, and also myself itself as an employee and also as a person. I would really love to see how the work through the work that we are doing, it makes impact. That is the most important thing of all, in working in the fintech itself for me personally. Next, please. Also, if we are talking about, we already cover how the fintech creates impacts through technology, especially for women. Now, the opportunities for women economic empowerment in the workforce itself is something or some topic that we are constantly talking about. But now I would like to share some of it, some of the insight. Next, please. Yeah, still in the from the go-to group inside. Just wanna point out that technology enable us as a woman, as an employee, to work more flexible from home and also from anywhere, as well as we can keep up with the rules of the company itself, which the flexibility itself offers women more opportunity to be able to join the workforce that support gender diversity, and then in the go to group itself, we are committed to go to the to support gender diversity and gender parity, through several program like employee resource group. We have also the policy of the zero tolerance of the harassment, and also uh, working through the fair pay and equal right that are essentially a support needed for women to stay in the workforce and stay productive on the workforce itself. In fact, one of the out of the three good financial employees are female. That is something that I am personally proud of, being a part of the company that are supporting female or women to be productive and to thrive in digital economy. And as my last takeaways in the next slide, please. Yeah, being in the tech industry itself, I kind of like understand that tech industry still needs more female leaders to thrive in the digital economy, because we can use more productive women in the workforce itself to enter the tech industry sectors. But the thing is, people often ask what are the skills needed to thrive in the digital economy itself. I'm gonna quote the World Economic Forum here, that already mentioned the top 10 skills of the future of job that needed in 2025. The top three is analytical thinking and innovations, active learning and learning strategies, and also complex problem solving. So it's not the skills like the practical skill that, for example, writing or public speaking or coding. That is not the first and the top 10 skill. The top 10 skill is the soft skill, actually, the soft skill that enable us as a professionals to be able to cope up with changes, because in the technology sector it is hard to have a fixed ways of working. So it is a constant changes. So analytical thinking and innovation is something that are embraced. And also the active learning and complex problem solving is something that are the soft skill that are needed. So the interesting thing is the soft skill is now more needed than ever because by equipping with the soft skill itself, we can always learn the practical skills. It can always follow later on. I think that's that's my key takeaways from being having a journey from students and exchange students, and also having being a young professionals on the fintech sectors. And I hope that everyone's here also interested to joining the workforce in the digital economy, because it's not only fun but also rewarding and making a huge impact. Thank you so much.
Ah, thank you so much, Sophie, for that wonderful presentation. I got a few key takeaways. Talking about adapting in the digital economy and mobility, right? I mean, and as well as your point on the fact that it's not all Jakarta centric. When we think about the digital economy and moving forward, we have to think about it in a way that how do we adapt? How do we make our soft skills and focus on things that aren't necessarily coding? While coding and technical skills are important, as you just mentioned, the top three things that are the most important are actually soft skills. And how do we like cultivate that here in Jakarta and other big cities versus how do we get the opportunity for women that don't have the same access, rural or for folks that have like this folks that are differently abled or however challenges that they may face. Like, what do we do for the adaptability and just thinking through that? You mentioned networking and how that helped you so much, and I think that's as we look at the digital economy, getting to know each other and getting to understand like the different problems we face and the different like opportunities we have. I think that goes a long way, as well as um, tech in action. Just thank you for sharing how the go-to group is using technology to include women in the digital economy and be inclusive, and putting that before our eyes in real time is very helpful as we think through these big questions of what do we do to include women. And finally, I mean, I loved the quote that you put up there, about how empowering women will empower the nation, and that's very fundamental. Couldn't agree more. And I think that's what when we think about any sort of advancement, as I mentioned in my opening remarks, and as you mentioned, we have to do it with women, and really happy that you brought that up there. So thank you once again, Shofi. And well, we'll get to our final panelist, and uh, she's from the W20. So I'll go to a very brief thing about the W20. So Women 20 is a collection of civil society organizations from the 20 countries, the 20 G20 countries, to focus on women's issues and make sure that they're included in the communique for G20 and just in general advocated for. And so obviously, I'll let our expert talk more about that, but I'm really excited to get the information. So Hadriani Uli Tior Ida Silahi
Lahi.
Lahi, because
Thank
she goes
you.
by Uli, and she is the chair of the W20, so the expert herself, and the head of economics and international relations department within the Indonesian Women's Congress, Kawani. She has 28 years experience in advertising and the integrated marketing field, making advertisements and communication strategy for top tier clients. She's a doctoral candidate with the University of Indonesia, and she obtained her master's degree in communication management from the University of Indonesia as well. And she's joining us from Manokwari, West Papua. So thank you for joining us from afar, and I'll give the floor to you.
Hi, thank you, Lester. Thank you. Hi, everyone. Good evening to the committee and fellow speakers and all participants. And to me, it's really great to be here standing in front of you. As Lester said, I'm currently in Manokwari for the W20 plenary event, and I'm really apologize I couldn't be in person. Okay, that's everybody knows that my name just Uli, you just say Uli Sidalahi, and then currently now I'm a chair W20, and then today's theme is women in the digital economy and emerging careers and opportunities in a digital space correlates deeply with the W20 main priorities. Therefore, I'm really happy to be here. Women 20 was established in 2015 at the G20 Turkey presidency. And however, the discussion has started actually is when the Australia's presidency. And W20 was established with the unanimous vote of the G20 countries in April 2015. The organization started its work in September. And in November, the participants prepared the first W20 declarations. Since then, the organization has become the association aimed at the elaborating better government policies and business development strategies, recognizing the significance of women contribution to policy making of the G20 countries. In W20 Indonesia, we have 4 priority issues. Next slide, please. Yes. And these issues do not come from the scratch. We carefully select and learn about them. We see the discrimination and the economic inclusion of the women-owned MSMEs has been highlighted in the previous W20 presidencies, like in Japan, Saudi Arabia, and also the last year is also in Italy. These issues are persisting and still need to be addressed. Adding into that, to ensure W20 address inclusivity, there are also emerging and contextual issues. Health issues are important since this aligns with G20 countries' concerns in the current situation. In the G20 countries presidency, Our president's put health architecture has one of three main focuses. Rural women and women with disabilities are contextual situations in which they experience vulnerability. In all four issues, digital empowerment is a silver lining. All women and girls will be empowered by better access and opportunity given by digitalizations. These four issues address our focus in increasing women participation in the economic women. At the center recovery and to benefit and be part of sustainable and inclusive growth. We have done three plenary events and countries delegates meeting to sharpen our knowledge in the issues we are prioritizing. Next slide, please. Okay. We aim to have concrete, deliverable, and actionable recommendation for G20 leaders. Next slide, please. Yeah. And then next slide again. Next slide, please. Yeah. Here. Okay. Okay. We aim to have concerted, deliverable, and actionable recommendations for G20 leaders. Number one, this is the CISPreneur, W20 CISPreneur. The incubation program for Indonesian women MSMEs by opening women's access to various knowledge such as understanding entrepreneurship from a gender perspective, business planning, marketing, and branding, financial literacy, and digital marketing to reach a wider market. Supporting women-owned MSMEs to promote business, improve to the family economy, and contribute to the national economic growth. 1,000 female MSMEs participants will take part in a series of webinar classes, and 50 participants who qualify for the judging will present a business proposal in front of the jury, and 10 winners will get a business capital prize of a total of 300 million rupiah. And next slide, please. And we have also inclusive economic for people with disability. The realizations of an inclusive economic for persons with disabilities, especially disability training and contact centers for the promotion of the involvement of persons with disability in the economy. This is something new from the previous declarations, so it is a legacy for Indonesian presidency. Therefore, it is important to include it in the declaration of the G20 leaders. We are committed to hold the governments accountable and use this as one of the best practice to inspire other countries. Next slide, please. And a sister collaboration on the leather industry. We are pushing collaboration to scale up leather artisan in Garut, West Java, by having knowledge transfer and training with the Leather Association in Italy. W20 is committed to our objective, and we are open for collaboration and partnerships. Thank you.
All right. Oop. Thank you, Uli. No, that was a wonderful presentation. I think that kind of brings us full circle with some of the topics you've mentioned. Of course, with Cispreneur and just the importance of entrepreneurship for women here in Indonesia and what W20 is doing for that is really critical. And as well as addressing women's issues on a global stage. You know, this isn't in isolation with what we're doing for women's empowerment. It's not just Indonesia. It's going to be the United States and the other G20 countries that come together. And I like what you said specifically about accountability and holding governments accountable and holding people accountable to actually do the things they say they want to do when it comes to uh, women's economic empowerment and making sure that women don't get left behind. And the last point that kind of ties nicely with what uh, Fiona initially said was about like addressing issues for disability or for people with disabilities and how we include them and just connecting the economics and empowerment back to folks who are, have the most issues with getting included and making sure we don't forget about anybody in that community. So I think that was a very important theme that I'm glad we addressed across different presentations. So thank you once again. And now we have the question and answer period. I hope everybody online and in person has been thinking of some great questions. So if you're online, don't worry, I can see your questions. I have a nice iPad here that I'll get to read off. So if you put it in, whether you're listening on social media, Zoom, please don't be shy and we'll get to your questions. And in person as well, we'll get to your questions. But I'll give everybody. Oh, I see. We already have a question. Let's start with you then. If you were here, usually it takes a while. You have to get people warmed up, but yeah.
Good night. Before I introduce my name, Jerry Victor Chanipara. Okay, before I thank you for the chance and also for this meeting. Before I hear that listen before that there is for empowering the woman like remarketing, also about how to make like application or program. This is right before, because maybe from American graduation, how to make the program. Because before I have friends, 20 years ago, we as a friends in one university, we can make like application how the payment of the apothec and also about the payment of the supermarket. And then after a few years, the program already yeah like expired, maybe because the language program already not used again like before. Many program like uh, uh, Fortran, like before he used the Foxtrot and Delphi. So for the next time, because we think that we are like competitive, compete with the artificial intelligence. Sometimes so many programs coming from the outside, uh, we can see now like Python, maybe others too much with the for like used for artificial intelligence. I think how we might let our knowledge about the programming we can be stand for a long time. What kind of program we can we use? So maybe until 20 or 10 or 20 years we can still use this program, especially for this. Yeah, the young men, how can be enhance their ability about the programming? Maybe this one I want to yeah. And also about sorry about the marketing. Maybe what kind of the application maybe uh, you offer for us for all the people so they can easy to use this application, how they sell everything they have, like also about their ability or their yeah like also about all things they can sell to like marketing to other people. Okay, that's the second like question. I thank you.
So hearing, think for every panelist can jump in here, but I just to kind of make sure I have it right. I'm worried about the longevity of some of the technology that we're developing, and how can we make it last for a long time, as well as how do we include older people in the technology? Because obviously, while technology might be made primarily by younger folks, everybody needs to use it. So how do we market it and develop it for people that are older generations or maybe that want to use it but need more like marketing for it. So that's kind of what I understood from that, and I welcome the panelists to jump in with your thoughts there.
I think I'll give it an answer first, right? Okay, the first one, if I'm not mistaken, the first one is concerning about the longevity of technology, right? Because programming language keep changing, right? And then the second one is about how are we supposed to market our application so we could reach out to wider market. So I will answer the first question first. So the thing is about technology, every year it keeps changing, including Apple documentations. Like later today, because we just had WWDC, when I'm about to teach my students, the documentations already changes. So I gotta learn new thing like exactly a day before I teach. So the thing is to keep up with technology, it's possible, but it takes quite an effort. So maybe what we can do is that, as what I said before, maybe decide what is the thing that we want to create and what are the tools that might support that. And I know that it might require lots of effort, but I promise it will be worth it because it will help lots of people. So the thing is that one thing that you have to do is to read a lot and keep browsing a lot, so we're not getting left behind. Or joining like online conferences, like what Apple has. So Apple has this WWDC. So in this WWDC is that Apple is announcing like new technologies for all of us to use. So I think that's one of the way we can do it. That's the first step to keep the longevity of technology, right? So we cannot stay the same at a long time, like what Shofi mentioned before. Technology keeps changing, right? And then we live in a very volatile and uncertain world. So everything will keep changing, and all we have to do is to follow the trend. And one of the way that we can do is to like watch online conferences that like Apple held and so many more. That's the thing. What I gotta say to keep up with the technology. And the second thing is about marketing. How can we market our applications to other people, right? So the thing is that sometimes our applications doesn't really solve people's problem. And when we don't solve people's problem, we don't really have any market, right? So before creating applications, it's really important for us to go through a thorough process of determining what are user pain points, their current behaviors, and what are the things that actually need. And maybe we don't have to start with something big. Like maybe we don't have to go like Gojek right away, like spreading their wings so far and so quick at the same time. Like as I said before, maybe we can start from some things that are around us, and we can do a thorough research about it. And if we really found a market and it really solves people's problem, and I think it will market really well. So we don't have to start big. Maybe start small, and it will follow along the way. Maybe you can add about the marketing part.
Yes. What I want to add is like in Apple Developer Academy, we're not just teaching the core, I mean like the coding skills and so on, because we're teaching also the soft skill. So the eagerness to learn something new, empty the cup, and so on. So that's why I think this relate with technology like moving on so fast, because like we also have to keep up, like update ourselves all the time. So that's why we can't really say like our curriculum is all about, because we're really agile. Like even our mentors, our academic team, they have to like always discuss about the curriculum even weekly, even daily, maybe, because we have to keep up with something new all the time. So what we want to say is like all our learners or our participants, they have this kind of mindset, like eagerness to learn all the time something new. So it's not just like uh, goes to the basic curriculum, or just like following through what kind of technology they have to learn, but they have to open their eyes to always ready for something new. That's the most important thing about our program. And I mean like to build some applications, it's not just like simply building some apps, but we also have research process where we go to the user and try to get their feedback a lot. Like for the user testing, we call it as user testing. So it's not just only for young user, but also try to go to
all age, like to according to the our target user, of course. So that's also one thing. Just not simply focus on the coding part, but also try to hear from user experience and get their feedback and how to develop it. I think that's also one of the important thing to answer the second questions.
Can I add one more thing? Is that okay? All right. I know that it might be scary to keep up with the trends all the time. I mean, like us as young people, it's also scary, honestly. Like everyone finds it scary to keep up with technology and the coding programming language. But honestly, being scared, that's actually part of the process. So it's okay. So if you're scared like, oh, the technology is going so fast, that's okay because that's what we're feeling also. Maybe like if we ever feel scary, just find some community that will help us to learn between each others, and I think that would be okay because being scared is part of the process, so it's really important. So you're not alone. I'm also scared here.
Uli, Shofi, do you have anything to add there?
Just a little bit because Fiona and Buyoni has already covered most of it, which I definitely agree that to go to the process of making an app, what most important is the planning phase where we are thinking of the background behind it, why this is needed, and do we have market on it? Do people is it solving other people's problem and user pain points? I think that was most important because if we go through that process right, sometimes maybe the answer is not sometimes the answer maybe it's not the app is the answer is doesn't have to be always building an app, probably needs to go to the basic partnership first or building the market first and then goes to the apps. So uh, just want to clarify on that everyone that goes to the phase is already having a thorough planning process on on why we should make the app, because sometimes it's easy to just like, okay, we have this problem and then let's make an app for it, but there's a gap between it, right? Between why this problem needs an app, because sometimes what people need is things that make their life easier, so it has to answer the answer on the question of how it solve their daily frictions. Like for example, if we see Gojek or every product in Goto ecosystem, it needs to tailor to some questions of how this make life easier. So that's how I agree with Bu Yeni and Mbak Fiona as well on the questions itself. Thank you.
Thank you. Uli, do you have anything to add or?
Okay. Yes, of course, we are agree that challenging to adapt to the technology changes. There is another reasons why it is important to give people equal access and learning process. I think that's more important that how to make everyone is have their access. That's more important. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions in person? Well, while we wait for everybody to think of some more questions, I see there's none online yet. I'll go ahead and ask a question. Shofi, so you did U.S. exchanges, of course, and you've talked briefly about how they impacted your career. But what advice do you have for people listening that want to get global experience in networking and working with others and just kind of being able to advance in their careers?
Thank you, Esther. Yeah, it makes me goes back to 10 years ago when I did starting my applications and then keep going. It's not I mean, I get the program is not on my first try, but it's my, I don't know how much I try and fail first, and then before I get the program itself. But basically, I was started from I lived in the when I was in high school. I lived in a Bangka Island. It was a very small island in the South Sumatra, which has limited access to even go to Jakarta. At that time, I need to go through two times of the flight because it was not connected at that moment 10 years ago. So basically, I have not having a point of references on who to ask, and also how did I get to the points of being able to access the informations, and also being able to fulfill the requirements of the exchange itself, like the languages, and also the part of we have to showcase the portfolio, and also show the motivation letter, point of letter of recommendations, and etc, and etc. But then I think if I can go back to myself 10 years ago and give myself advice, that would be every great people that you look up to, they also have to start somewhere. So don't get intimidated just because you are someone that is have just started and not make it yet. Just keep going, be humble, and reach out to the right people. Um, I will quote one of the best quote from Harry Potter, if I may, right now. It was when I think it was Dumbledore who said, "Help will always be given at Hogwarts who, to those who ask for it." And now I would like to tweak it a bit, that I would say that help will always be given at this muggle world we're living in to those who ask for it. So don't worry, just don't be intimidated by people. If you are looking for someone, a role model, and you want like to for those people to be your um, mentor, for example, to get to help you to get through the process of fulfilling the requirement, for example, for the program, or other things, even for your professional development. Reach out to that person. In their heart, the person also wants to give back and helps you. So yeah, don't worry, you'll be fine.
Thank you. That's wonderful advice, Shofi. And yeah, while we're waiting for some more questions to pop up, I'll turn over to our friends here, Yenny and Fiona. I guess two questions in one. The first is, you know, how does somebody enroll in the Apple Academy? You mentioned a lot of the impact of it, but how do you actually get into it? What do you look for in people who are applying for it? And if you do get into it, what do you like? What should you expect? Like, if I'm like interested in learning to do something as cool as Fiona, how can I get there?
Okay. Actually, we have one slide to show like we have three sites in Indonesia. We have in BSD in Tangerang, but we also have Apple Academy in Batam and also in Surabaya. So simply you can just go to our website, and we're actually open registration for next year cohort starting February 2023 till December. So what we have to do is like create an account, and following the process, there will be interview process as well as submitting your motivation letters. And during the program, like I said before, like not only learning about the hard skill, but also a lot of soft skills developed there. And yeah, because we open for anyone 18 years plus with no limit, like whoever can actually register. So the connections, like building a lot of new, meeting new peoples, like you can learn not only just about the coding, but also learn about design, about business as well. Like we always call it as T-shaped professional. T, where's the vertical line is your domain expert. So you still can even enhance your skills, but at the same time, you also develop several new skills, new other skills. And what's beneficial is like a full scholarship program, and like you don't have to worry about the device because it's also will be provided during the program. So I think, yeah, it's a really good program for all of us to try, because make an impact, it's a huge words here. We want to create a world-class developers. That's our goal. And like Shovi and also Viona mentioned, like to create an apps, it's not just like a problem and you create apps. It's not just like that. But the huge process of what we call it as CBL, challenge-based learning, like there's a lot of process where you have to do research, find out what's the real problem and why you want to develop this kind of apps, and whether this really make an impact for the community. That also matters. So I think that's a thing about Apple Developer Academy.
Maybe I can add a little bit perspective as a student. So, as a student and a mentor, I'm actually pretty spoiled at the academy because I got the devices that I need to do development. I got all the mentors. I even nag the mentors at midnight, and I think it goes back to me right now. As a mentor, everyone asked me like at middle of night. I was like, oh, now I know what my mentors feels back then. So, and then beside like the mentors, and I also got personal mentors for my personal development there. So every time I got confused on what to do next or what should I do next, I always have someone that I can talk to and help me throughout my goals, right? And beside that, Apple Developer Academy also provide me with so many things. As I mentioned before, device, because I remember when I wanted to do a usability testing or user testing, Apple Academy actually provide me devices so I can use that device to do user testing to my all of my users. And also during the Apple Entrepreneur Camp, I actually get in touch right away with Apple engineers. So when my app actually has a bug, I can nag the engineer right away. Like, what happened with my app? Can you help me? So yeah, as a student, I actually feels very spoiled and very. I feel like it's a very great privilege to be part of the academy. I'm very grateful.
Think one thing to add also, like by the end of the program, it's not just graduate from Apple Academy and just like that, but we also help to connect our alumni to meet the industries. Like a lot of industries will get the opportunity to meet all our talents, like we call it as Talent Spark events. So, and it's not like just one or two companies, but it's like a lot of companies, especially during these 2 years pandemic, we do our talent spark online. So then a lot of industries can join our program. This is actually several benefit that we can just put it on slide. But aside from this, there are so many others benefit that people can enjoy during our 10 months journey. So the program itself will start next year, February 2023. It will be our sixth cohort 6, from February till December. And at the moment, we are running cohort 5 from February till December. And Fiona is our third cohort, right? And I think before this slide, we have 3 sites, Apple Academy, where there's a QR code there. Yes, there's this, in Jakarta is working together with Bina Nusantara University, in Surabaya is Ciputra University, and in Batam, working together with Infinite Learning Batam. So the QR code here is actually to make everyone easier to just goes to the QR code where you can just register and make an account.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing a little bit more about Apple Academy, and definitely seems like a wonderful opportunity for people tuning in and people here to dive into the digital economy and bring their soft skills and make a difference, like Fiona has. So I want to turn to the broader perspective, getting back to kind of like the, you know, what are some of the opportunities and challenges in the digital economy? And Uli, being the W20 chair and your time with Kawani and your expertise in all of this, you've kind of hinted at accessibility like as a critical piece of women's inclusion in digital or just in the economy broadly speaking. Uh, but I'd like to get your perspectives on what are the biggest opportunities and challenges for women in the digital economy.
Okay. Thanks, Lester. Okay. The biggest of challenges that we can see is the lack of access and opportunity. And then these challenges can come from the barriers such as social perspective and then norms. And then the absence of information and training, and then that is why we have to work on in hand and as a collaboration like now that academic sorry, the Apple academic, and then we can have the collaboration also, and then also we can have also from the government, and then from the other organization, and then also from the community as well. Thank you.
All right, yes. No, thank you, Uli. I couldn't agree more. Just having a collaborative environment and addressing
Yes.
issues is going to be key because I mean this is a huge challenge, right? When we're moving
Yeah.
towards
Yeah.
how
Right.
do we include everybody in the digital economy, particularly women,
Mhm.
particularly
Mhm.
folks that are disabled and may not have the same access. That's really critical to do so. Any questions from our audience? Want to give one more chance? Okay, we have a question over here.
Thank you and hi everyone, and I'm very grateful to be here. And thank you for the talk. It is very inspirational. Thank you. So I want to ask from the academic side, and I find it very cool that people and on this context are women as Kak Fiona and Kak Shofi and Bu Uli that have a marvelous educational background. And I want to ask specifically for overseas education. So for Kak Fiona and Kak Shofi, I'm curious like what do you get from your experience from Harvard and Columbia that you can apply on your life now as a woman in digital economy business? That's all. Thank you.
First. Okay, in the Harvard Innovation in Healthcare course, actually, I didn't go to Harvard right away. I just did the online course. So what I get from there is that I get to understand what our healthcare's like in the U.S. and especially, and I wanted to know, uh, are there anything that I could implement in Indonesia, right, by learning what is happening out there. So it's actually interesting because back then I never really had interest in healthcare. But since I work on my startup right now, our seizure helper, I began my interest to realize how can I commercial healthcare and make it accessible for everyone. So that's what I got so far. So I didn't really go abroad, but I get another perspective on how can we improve Indonesia through seeing what's happening out
That's a great answer, and you haven't gone abroad yet.
there.
I'm sure Harvard should accept you for a full degree program at some point. No, uh,
Agree.
Shofi.
Yeah, that's a very interesting question because I've also never actually deeply thinking about it. But I think in my experience as a communication professionals, it is easy for people to think that communication is simply communicating things that already been there. But actually, if we are going deep into a strategic communication as what been taught during my formal educations at Columbia University and also during the experience, 8-year experience on the field itself, that communication it also can be not only uh, in a passive way of only communicating, but also advocating for changes. Meaning it is an active and it is an active ways to also making a changes because if you're talking about a good PR or public relations, you can't really make a good public relation out of something that is bad. You need something that is pure and also a good and sincere to communicate to public that you are doing good. So if you're doing good, and then it would be easier for the public relation person to communicating it. So basically, what I learned is that we can be more active on doing on communicating the changing itself by advocating for changes. So, for example, if we needed to communicating the impact stories of a merchant or a business owners who are getting impacted, getting a positive impact from the technology, you need to find a good product or a good yeah, a good product or business solutions that they use in daily life, that actually use it not only for the sake of, like a publication, but it is actually solving their real life problem. For example, a woman who have been through a hardship during when the pandemic hits, and then needs to move from offline store to online, and then they need to work on that changes, while also taking care of their household, taking care of their children's. It is a lot, right? It is a lot to take. So through the solutions, the business solutions, like what the we provide in the go to group, the women or the ibu can now selling online, because it very seamless for her to having the digital transcript and or digital transaction at one point, and also getting the ghost and driver picking up the thing that she sells, and then deliver it to the consumers. She doesn't have to go through the manual reconciliations of the transactions by writing it on the paper, because it's already digital. She does a bit also to check on the verifying the payment from the consumers, because it is all being taken care of the system, meaning that our product is creating changes by making the life of this ibu easier, right? So that is what I connect as a also an active ways of putting the communications field that I learned in the schools into the practical world. That is the communications field can be used to communicating an impact, which an impact itself needs to be a real impact for it to be able to create good stories. Yeah, I think that's what I learned. I hope that answered the questions. Thank you.
All right. Well, looks like our time's about done for today, which is a shame because it's been such a wonderful program and we've heard from such great experts, Fiona, Yenny, Shofi, Uli. Thank you all so much for your time. Yeah, that was good. Clap, clap. Yeah, I'm not used to doing in-person events, clapping and all of that. No, but really, thank you so much for your time and for your expertise and bringing in such important thoughts about women in the digital economy. We've said it time and time again, but it does bear repeating one more time the importance of inclusion, particularly for women as the digital transformation in Indonesia takes off. So we're very, very excited that we got to learn from you all, and I hope the audience members here in person as well as online feel that much more inspired, take a chance and get out there in the digital economy and do some good, right? One last thing I wanted to make a quick plug for on the U.S. Embassy side is we're continuing to think about these kinds of ways to help Indonesia and like have mutual collaboration when it comes to digital economy. So first off, we just welcome your ideas on that. And to one thing that we're looking at in August is having a event specifically for women in the fintech industry. So look out for details on that. We're planning some high-level engagement and some great networking opportunities. So when we at the embassy here at America Embassy and in State Department as a whole say we are serious about supporting digital economy and women's empowerment in that. We really are, we really mean it, and we're trying to do what we can to make that a reality. So um, we'll keep you posted on all that great news and all the events we're going to have, and we look forward to your ideas as well for ways we can continue to be engaged. But wow, this is a great time. It's great to be back hybrid, and thanks for joining us tonight at America. I'll turn it over to our host. Good night.
All right. Thank you very much to our speakers, along with our moderator, for today's very enlightening session. And also, we hope everyone found it fruitful and valuable as well. And thank you so much, everyone, for sharing wonderful fun facts to our social media platforms. And now, do you want to develop more brilliant ideas with a platform like this? It's easy as ABC. You can simply go to our website at www.atamerica.or.id, select create an event, and go to collaborate with us. All given proposals will be reviewed, and your event might be featured here soon. You can also subscribe to our newsletter if you find yourself enjoying this event so you can stay updated with our upcoming events. Follow us on our social media. We're on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at AT America for interesting contents, giveaways, and so much more. Also, please click the like button and subscribe to our YouTube channel. With that, it is time to say farewell. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining with us today. My name is Hasna. See you on the next at America event. Bye bye, everybody. And moderator two.